It is a Saturday morning in Tampines. Two neighbours, same HDB block, same floor, same income, $5,500 a month each. Marcus is 34. He drives a Toyota Corolla on a car loan. He has the latest iPhone. He eats at restaurants 3 times a week. His savings account has $800 in it. He has no insurance except what his employer gives him. He has no investments. His CPF is untouched beyond what goes in automatically. He tells himself he will start next year when things settle down. Alvin is also 34. He takes the MRT. His phone is 2 years old. He eats at the hawker centre below their block most mornings. His savings account has $22,000 in it. He has term life insurance. He has an integrated shield plan on top of MediShield Life. He topped up his CPF special account last January. He owns units in a global ETF and a Singapore REIT. Same income, same block, same starting line. In 20 years, they will live completely different lives. Not because Alvin was luckier, not because he earned more. The difference is sequence. Alvin bought the right things in the right order. Marcus bought the wrong things first and is now trying to build a house starting from the roof. Today we go through the 8 things that smart Singaporeans buy before everything else. Not complicated things, not expensive things. 8 purchases that build the foundation which makes everything else possible. Get the sequence right and compound interest does the rest. Get it wrong and you spend the next 20 years running to stand still. Here is why the order matters as much as the items. Farid is 31. He works in logistics in Tuas. He earns $4,800 a month. When his washing machine broke down last November, he put the repair on his credit card at 26% interest per annum. It took him 4 months to pay it off. The interest cost him $412 for a washing machine repair. Farid does not have an emergency fund. He has something more dangerous, the illusion of one. His rough idea that his CPF ordinary account has about $20,000 in it. CPF is locked. It does not pay washing machine repairs. It does not pay for the month your employer cuts your salary. It does not pay for the week your child is in hospital. An emergency fund is 3 to 6 months of your actual monthly expenses sitting in a separate account earning real interest. Not CPF. Not your investment portfolio. Markets fall exactly when emergencies arrive. A separate account. Cash. Accessible today. For the average Singaporean household spending $4,300 a month, 3 months of expenses is $13,000. 6 months is $26,000. That is the target. Not a vague number, a number you calculate from your own bank statements this weekend. Where you put it matters more in 2026 than it did 2 years ago. The T-bill window has closed. The 6-month T-bill rate as of July 2026 is 1.44%, less than half what it paid at the highs. Singapore savings bonds for July 2026 pay 1.46% in year 1. Better for the portion you will not need immediately. For the rest, the answer is a high-yield savings account. UOB1 pays up to 7.8% with salary credit and spend conditions. OCBC 360 is comparable. GXS Bank pays 2.7% with no conditions at all, no salary credit requirement, no minimum spend. The practical structure. 1 month of expenses in GXS for immediate access. 2 to 5 months in UOB1 or OCBC 360 for the higher rate. Your emergency fund earns more than your CPF ordinary account while staying completely liquid. Farid redirects $300 a month. 22 months later, his 6-month emergency fund is fully funded. From that point forward, the next emergency gets paid from cash, not from 26% credit card interest that eats another $400 before he notices. The emergency fund is not the exciting purchase. It is the one that makes every other purchase on this list possible without destroying your financial plan when life happens. And life always happens. Rachel is 41. She is a senior accountant in the CBD. She has MediShield Life, mandatory, deducted automatically from MediSave. What she does not have is an integrated shield plan on top of it. Last March, Rachel needed a procedure on her knee. Class B1 ward at a restructured hospital. Her total bill came to $8,200. After MediShield Life, she paid $3,100 out of pocket. Manageable. Just. Now imagine the bill was $200,000 for a cancer diagnosis, for a heart bypass. Cancer is the leading cause of death in Singapore. 26.2% of all deaths. 1 in 4 Singaporeans will be diagnosed with a critical illness during their lifetime. The average treatment cost for cancer runs between 100,000 and 200,000 Singapore dollars per year. MediShield Life covers Class B2 and C wards. If you want Class A, if you want to choose your own specialist, you are paying the difference yourself. An integrated shield plan from AIA, Great Eastern, Income, or Prudential sits on top of MediShield Life and covers that gap. Premiums for a 35-year-old run roughly $250 to $400 a year for Class A coverage at a restructured hospital. That is less than $1 a day. Here's the detail most people miss. Without a rider, ISPs still have co-insurance and deductibles. You pay 5 to 10% of large bills. On a $200,000 cancer bill, 5% is $10,000. With a rider, that goes to zero. MAS caps riders at 30% of your ISP premium. On a $250 ISP, the rider adds roughly $75. $325 a year total, paid fully from MediSave, not from your monthly cash, for coverage that means a $200,000 bill costs you nothing out of pocket. Rachel buys the ISP in April. Her annual premium including rider is $360, paid from MediSave. She has added nothing to her monthly expenses. She has removed the largest single financial risk in her life. After 45, ISP premiums rise meaningfully. After 60, they rise sharply, and some conditions become uninsurable. The window to buy cheaply and while healthy is now. Priya is 37, primary school teacher in Ang Mo Kio, married to Raj, who earns $4,000 a month. 2 children, aged 8 and 5. HDB mortgage of $1,200 a month, 16 years remaining. If Priya dies tomorrow, Raj's income alone does not cover the mortgage, school fees, daily expenses, and everything else Priya's income was carrying. The family does not just grieve, they face a financial crisis simultaneously with a personal one. The Life Insurance Association of Singapore published its Protection Gap Study in 2022. The average Singaporean has a critical illness coverage gap of $264,586. The national mortality protection gap is $373 billion. These are not abstractions. They are the distance between what people have and what their families actually need. 2 products, both matter. They are not the same thing. Term life pays a lump sum if you die within the policy term. For Priya's situation, 2 children, a mortgage, a spouse, the rule of thumb is 9 to 12 times annual income. Her income is $56,000 a year. She needs between $500,000 and $670,000 of coverage. A $500,000 term life policy for a healthy, non-smoking 37-year-old woman costs roughly $500 to $700 a year, about $50 a month. Critical illness insurance pays a lump sum when you are diagnosed with a covered condition, cancer, heart attack, stroke, kidney failure. Not when you die, when you are diagnosed. The financial impact of serious illness begins the moment the diagnosis arrives. You stop working. Treatment costs start immediately. Your spouse may need to reduce hours to be your caregiver. The average critical illness insurance payout when a claim is made is $52,343. The average treatment cost for the conditions that trigger those claims is 5 to 10 times higher. The gap between 52,000 and 200,000 is the problem, and most Singaporeans are living inside that gap without knowing it. A $300,000 critical illness policy for a healthy 37-year-old costs roughly $600 to $800 a year. Combined with term life, Priya spends under $120 a month to protect her family against the two events most likely to destroy their finances. The window closes, not in some abstract future. Premiums rise every year of age. Health conditions that appear after 40 can make coverage unavailable or unaffordable. The cheapest day to buy is always today. Wei is 29, software developer in One North. 8 months ago, he collected his keys. A 4-room BTO in Tengah, purchase price $340,000. His CPF ordinary account had $62,000 from 4 years of working. He used all of it as the down payment. What nobody explained to Wei before he signed is what that $62,000 is going to cost him when he sells. When you use CPF OA money to buy a property, CPF board tracks every dollar used. It charges your account the interest that money would have earned, 2.5% per annum compounded for the entire period it was deployed. This is called accrued interest, not a penalty. A bookkeeping mechanism to ensure your CPF retirement savings are restored when you sell. The practical reality: Wei used $62,000 at age 29. After 20 years of 2.5% compounding on that sum, plus every subsequent monthly CPF contribution toward the mortgage, his total CPF refund obligation when he sells could exceed $140,000. The cash profit from selling his flat goes first to refund the CPF principal and all accrued interest. What remains is his actual cash in hand. For millions of Singaporeans who buy at 30, sell at 50, and plan to fund retirement with the proceeds, the accrued interest calculation is the shock they were never prepared for. They sell an asset that appreciated by $100,000 and receive far less cash than they expected because the CPF refund obligation grew silently for 20 years. Understanding this changes the strategy entirely. It changes how much Wei puts down versus keeps in OA, earning 2.5%. It changes whether he upgrades or stays put. It changes what he projects his retirement balance will actually look like at 65. The HDB flat is still the single most important financial purchase most Singaporeans make. For BTO buyers, the discount to resale market, typically 15 to 25%, is a built-in return available nowhere else. With eligible grants stacked, the Enhanced Housing Grant, Family Grant, Proximity Housing Grant, total assistance can reach $190,000 for first-time buyers. That advantage is real, but it is only an advantage if you understand what you own. Wei books an appointment with an HDB financial counselor the week after watching this video. He does not change his purchase. He changes his plan for the 20 years after it. Linda is 39, marketing director at a fintech firm in Marina Bay. She earns $90,000 a year. Last year, she paid $8,700 in income tax. She does not top up her CPF special account. She does not contribute to SRS. She files and pays. She is leaving over $3,000 a year on the table, every single year. 2 moves. Neither requires giving up investment upside. Both are legal. Both are available right now. The first is the retirement sum topping up scheme. Cash top-ups to your CPF special account before age 55 give you up to $8,000 a year in personal tax relief. At Linda's marginal rate, 11.5% on income between $80,000 and $120,000, $8,000 of top-up saves her $920 in tax this year. That same $8,000 then earns 4% per annum, guaranteed by the Singapore government, risk-free. The CPF board extended the 4% floor rate on SA and RA through at least 31st December 2026. No Singapore savings bond pays 4%. No T-bill pays 4%. No fixed deposit at any local bank pays 4%. This is the highest guaranteed return available to any Singaporean. Most people leave money in OA at 2.5% when 4% is sitting there waiting. The second is the Supplementary Retirement Scheme. SRS is a voluntary account at DBS, OCBC, or UOB. Singapore citizens and permanent residents can contribute up to $15,300 a year. Every dollar contributed reduces your taxable income by $1 in the year of contribution. For Linda, $15,300 into SRS saves her $1,760 in income tax this year alone. Here's the mistake almost every SRS account holder makes. They open SRS, deposit money, and leave it sitting as cash, earning 0.05%. SRS is not a savings account. It is a tax-advantaged investment wrapper. The moment you deposit, you invest. Into CSPX for global equity growth. Into the Lion Phillip S-REIT ETF for Singapore dividend income. Into Singapore savings bonds for capital safety. The return is the tax saving plus the investment growth compounding together for decades. Combined, RSTU and SRS give Linda $23,300 of tax-deductible contributions this year. At her marginal rate, she saves over $2,600 in tax. That is not money she loses to the system. It is money she redirects from the government into her own retirement account, earning 4% or higher, compounding until 62. Linda sets up a standing instruction on the first of each month. The transfers leave before she can spend them. Her next tax bill? $5,900. $2,800 redirected, legally, permanently, from IRAS to her retirement, every year, for the next 23 years. Jason is 35. He opened a brokerage account 2 years ago. He bought DBS, Singapore Airlines, and Singtel, names he recognizes. His portfolio is worth $48,000. He feels like an investor. Here is the quiet cost Jason cannot see on his portfolio screen. His 3 Singapore holdings represent 3 companies out of roughly 4,000 publicly listed globally. Zero exposure to US technology, the sector that delivered the highest returns of any market in the past 15 years. Zero exposure to European pharmaceuticals, Japanese manufacturers, or emerging market growth. He is not diversified. He is concentrated in one city-state economy. He also bought VOO, the Vanguard S&P 500 ETF listed in the United States, because an American YouTuber recommended it. Last year, VOO paid dividends. Before those dividends reached Jason's account, the United States government withheld 30%. That is the standard withholding tax rate applied to Singapore residents holding US domiciled funds. The alternative is CSPX, the iShares Core S&P 500 UCI TS ETF, domiciled in Ireland, listed on the London Stock Exchange, denominated in US dollars, holds the same 500 companies as VOO. Ireland has a tax treaty with the United States that cuts withholding tax on dividends from 30% to 15%. On a $100,000 portfolio, generating 1.5% in dividends, $1,500, VOO costs Jason $450 in withholding tax. CSPX costs $225. $225 saved every year from the exact same underlying investment. The only difference is where the fund is legally registered. CSPX carries a total expense ratio of 0.07% per year, among the lowest globally. It is accumulating, meaning dividends are automatically reinvested without Jason needing to do anything, avoiding the dividend drag and the withholding tax on each distribution cycle. Assets under management exceed $80 billion. For broader global exposure beyond the US, VWRA, the Vanguard FTSE All-World UCIT SETF, holds approximately 3,900 companies across developed and emerging markets in one fund. Total expense ratio 0.22%. Also accumulating. Also Irish domicile. Available through Interactive Brokers or Tiger Brokers, which most Singapore retail investors use. For CPF invested money, neither CSPX nor VWRA is eligible. The relevant CPF-approved options are the STI ETFs, Nikko AM's G3B, or SPDR's ES3, both tracking the 30 Straits Times index companies and both CPF eligible. Jason keeps his DBS shares. He adds CSPX for global exposure and transfers his VOO position into CSPX. The reallocation takes one afternoon. The withholding tax saving runs for the rest of his investing life. Nurul is 43, senior nurse at Tan Tock Seng Hospital. $5,800 a month. Her HDB mortgage cleared 3 years early. She now has $1,200 a month surplus and no idea what to do with it. She has heard of REITs. She thinks they are complicated. She thinks they are risky. She is wrong on both counts. Singapore real estate investment trusts are regulated by MAS. By law, every Singapore REIT must distribute at least 90% of its taxable income as dividends every year. That is not a preference. That is a statutory requirement. The result is the highest yielding, most consistent dividend-paying instruments available on the Singapore Exchange. Now here is the part that makes S-REITs unique in the world. Dividend income from Singapore REITs is not taxed at the individual investor level. The one-tier tax system means the REIT pays corporate tax and distributions to individual investors come through entirely clean. No withholding. No entry on your annual tax return. 0. A S-REIT paying 5.5% yield delivers 5.5% to your account. What you see is what you keep. The IHS REIT index blended yield as of mid-2026 sits at 5.5 to 6%. Individual trusts vary. CapitaLand Integrated Commercial Trust, which holds Raffles City, Ion Orchard, and major Singapore office towers, yields roughly 4.6%. CapitaLand Ascendas REIT, the largest industrial REIT with properties across Singapore, Australia, and the United Kingdom, yields around 5.5 to 6%. Mapletree Industrial Trust, holding data centers and business parks, yields approximately 6.5%. Parkway Life REIT, which holds hospital real estate across Singapore, Japan, and France, yields 3.5 to 4%, with one of the strongest distribution growth records on the exchange. For someone who does not want to analyze individual trusts, the Lion Phillip S-REIT ETF holds over 30 S-REITs in a single fund with a trailing yield of approximately 5.5%. Nurul's $1,200 a month becomes $14,400 a year. Invested into a portfolio split roughly 70% CSPX and 30% across CapitaLand Ascendas and Mapletree Industrial, growth plus income, she builds toward a dividend stream that supplements her future CPF life payout. At a blended 5% yield on $280,000, she generates $1,167 per month in dividends, tax-free, every month, indefinitely. That is a realistic 12-year target at her current contribution rate with dividends reinvested. She starts in January. Not next year. January. David is 58. He has done everything right. Full retirement sum in CPF, integrated shield plan, dividend portfolio generating $2,000 a month. His wife May, 55, has topped up SRS for 10 years. They are financially prepared for retirement. What they have not done is protect the legal framework around everything they built. David has no CPF nomination. May has no CPF nomination. Neither of them has a lasting power of attorney. In a single afternoon, any one of these gaps can erase years of planning. Start with the CPF nomination. CPF does not form part of your estate. A will does not cover your CPF balance. If David dies without a nomination, his CPF money does not automatically go to May. It goes to the Public Trustee's Office, administered under the Intestate Succession Act. The process takes 6 to 12 months. The public trustee charges 0.5% of the amount administered, minimum $1,000, maximum $5,000. May cannot access that money while the administration is running. With a CPF nomination, the money reaches nominated beneficiaries in 2 to 6 weeks. It is free. It takes 15 minutes on the My CPF portal. One detail that wipes out nominations silently: marriage automatically revokes any existing CPF nomination. David made a nomination at 30. He named his parents. Both have since passed. His nomination is now void, and he did not know. They update their nominations the same afternoon. Now the LPA. A lasting power of attorney is a legal document that authorizes a trusted person to manage your finances and personal welfare if you lose mental capacity through dementia, a stroke, or an accident. Without an LPA, your family has no legal authority to touch your bank accounts, your CPF, your investments, or your property, even if you are completely incapacitated. They must apply to the court for a deputyship order. A survey by SMU's Regulatory Studies Centre, published in May 2026, found that 69.2% of Singaporeans know what an LPA is. Only 31.3% have actually made one. 50.8% believe their children automatically have authority to manage their affairs if they cannot. They do not without an LPA. The court will not accept good intentions as a substitute. From 1st April 2026, the LPA Form 1 is completely free for all Singapore citizens. No filing fee. The process takes roughly 45 minutes through the Office of the Public Guardian's online portal. You need a certificate issuer, a doctor or a lawyer to confirm you understood the document when you signed. That costs between $25 and $50. The alternative, a deputyship application through the Family Justice Courts, takes 6 to 9 months and costs $3,000 to $5,000 in legal fees. An LPA costs 45 minutes and $50. Every day you do not have one is a day where a single accident could lock your family out of your own finances at the moment they need access most. David and May complete their LPAs in the same week they update their CPF nominations. Total cost, less than $100. Time, 2 hours between them. What they protected? Everything they spent 25 years building. Two neighbors, same block, same income, same Saturday morning. Marcus has $800 in savings. His car costs him $1,400 a month when you add the loan, insurance, petrol, and parking. Every repair goes on credit. Every emergency costs him twice, once in cash, once in interest. His CPF sits at 2.5% when 4% was available. He has no will, no LPA, no CPF nomination. He has a lifestyle. He does not have a foundation. Alvin has a foundation, not because he earned more, because he bought the right things first. The 8 things are not complicated. Emergency fund in a high-yield account before any investment, integrated shield plan on top of MediShield Life before diagnosis makes the decision for you, term life and critical illness coverage before 40 when the premiums are still manageable, an HDB you understand fully, the accrued interest, the grants, the CPF mechanics, not just the price. CPF special account and SRS topped up every January for the tax relief and the 4% compounding. Global ETFs through the Irish domicile to stop paying unnecessary withholding tax on every dividend. Singapore REITs for income that is tax-free by law. And a CPF nomination plus LPA that cost under $100 and 2 hours combined. Each of these is a decision, not a promotion, not an inheritance, not luck. The Singaporeans who retire with dignity and the ones who retire with anxiety are almost never separated by income. They are separated by sequence, by whether they bought the foundation first or built the lifestyle first and hoped the foundation would somehow appear later. It does not appear later. You build it now, or you live without it. What is the one thing on this list you have been putting off the longest? Put the number in the comments below. Just the number. And next week, we go deeper on how to build the dividend income that fills the gap between your CPF life payout and the retirement you actually want to live.